So when I started 2009 at the regionals, there were 14 guys, 1 girl at the regionals. We did have Mikko, who ended up winning the whole games, but I mean 14 guys, 1 girl who couldn't finish the whole event. Now we have this. It's just, I mean, it's been ridiculous, the growth. And I was speaking with someone yesterday, and he was basically like, hey, we've gone from 2011 to this year, it's been immense growth. But when you look back, it's 2009, 2010 was immense growth, 2010 to 2011 was immense growth. So it's just been exponential. It's really amazing how big it's got so fast. One of my other roles is I'm teaching the level 1s here in Europe, and I find it's really rewarding. It's like to get to see how that community grows around the games as well. Like every weekend when we ask, hey, who's following the games? We refer back to the Open when we talk about fitness and things like that, and people are really you can see how fired up they are. And obviously the games would not grow only with the elite athletes, right? If we have 50 men, 50 women going to the games, that's not sufficient for the games to grow. I think the whole community needs to be behind it. What's been great, I think, is the whole media that we're getting out there, all the videos, and people they can follow this on Twitter and otherwise. I think it's a really important part of creating that community, and I think you can hear it here. And I think yesterday was a little bit quiet in Europe, but you'll hear it more and more today and tomorrow. As people getting that community is a big part of the competition, just like the athletes. So I'm working with Annie. She's kind of the main athlete that I work with. Frederick, the boyfriend, basically who's doing pretty well as well. I've got a couple other athletes. I've got a girl called Hjörtis from Iceland. She's doing pretty well, and then Benny Backman from Switzerland, kind of helping out a little bit with the Reykjavik team, but can't really say that I'm coaching them, just giving them tips here and there. So Annie's been together for a couple of years now, so she's definitely the athlete that I coach the most. And then it's kind of easy to go, okay, I've got 1 female athlete and 1 male athlete that I focus on the most, and maybe someone on the team. That's fine because they're three separate things. But once you start to have multiple male or female athletes, I think when it comes to an event, you kind of have to go, okay, I'm going to help you out now, give you the tips, and then when it comes to competition, you have to be there for that 1 athlete. Otherwise, it gets messy for you, it gets messy for the athletes. CrossFit is one of those, in a sense, few sports, if we call it sport now, in the competition form, where not all athletes have coaches. I think if you look at any other sport, you will always see an athlete and a coach and a team potentially behind that athlete and the coach. And especially what we've been trying to build up is to have a team, have athlete, have a head coach, and have all these accessory coaches that can help the athlete to take them through the regionals, take them to the games, and also take them through the programming. So it's not only about what do you do in the program, right? It's better if somebody programs for you. It's easier because you're going to address the things that you need to address, but also you need to have someone at the competitions to take care of you, well, how are you going to warm up? Are you going to do movement prep? Are you going to cool down? How are you going to do that? Do you have everything you need? And I think it expands, especially looking at some of the athletes I work with, not just from my role as a coach with them, but also their family, friends, everybody else who's supporting them. So I think it's immense. I think it's really hard to be that one-person athlete nowadays and still make it. There are exceptions, right? But there are exceptions to the rule that kind of make that rule even stronger.
You see that getting harder and harder every year?
I think,
to be that person?
Yeah, I think so. And I think it should get harder. The better the sport gets, the better we get as athletes, the better the athletes get in our sport, the top athletes, the more they will need coaches, right? And that's, like I said, if you go to Olympic Games, you go to World Championships in any other sport, everybody's going to have a coach, right? And I think that's definitely the way that we are headed as well. Yeah, it's really interesting. There's been a bit of a trend in this season. There's been some top athletes that have actually stepped out for 1 season to heal their injuries. So there's definitely something to be said about that. But I think if you do it smartly, you program smartly, you train smart, and you increase your training load from 1 year to the next, instead of just jumping onto this huge training volume that you see Rich Frowning or Mikko or Dan Bailey or Annie do, if you kind of build it up smart, I think you have much more longevity than you will have if you just jump straight in. And especially people coming from other backgrounds, let's say American football or other sports where they have a lot of potential, but they might have not been used to doing these movements, the volumes that they're doing. I think that's where we might lose that sustainability.